Hello, and welcome to Ipsa Dixit, a podcast on legal scholarship. I'm your host, Brian L. Fry, Spears Gilbert Associate Professor of Law at the University of Kentucky College of Law. My guest today is King, who is an incarcerated person, and he's going to be talking about some of the issues that comrades of his are currently having accessing legal materials while in prison. So welcome to the show, King.
Hey, what's up, man? It's always a pleasure to be on here with you.
Great to have you back, and I've really been enjoying the shows that you've been hosting, so thanks a lot for doing that.
Oh yeah, we got a bunch more coming to it. Just because of this incident, because of this action that we got that I'm about to talk about right now, it has kind of put a lot of things on hold because this one violation that they're doing, if this spreads wildfire across the Florida and then across the nation, it could be some very heavy stuff going on, you know.
Well, so King, why don't you kind of lay the groundwork and help people understand what's happening? So maybe just tell people, remind listeners who might not have heard previous episodes about, how access to legal materials is currently provided to prisoners and how it's changed over time, and sort of what the prison is doing right now to limit access to.
Okay, well, awesome. Well, every institution has what they call a law library, and just to get on the call out for these law libraries is difficult in itself, right? You have to write requests. You have to constantly be on them about putting you on these requests. It's not something you could just walk up to. It's not something that you could just frequent, right? So it's already difficult enough to make it on this call out to get to the law library without any deadlines. If you got a deadline, then you have access, but this is a court mandated deadline. It's not any post conviction type 3850 type anything. It has to be strictly court mandated from the DCA type deadline. So just getting to the deadline, like I said, I'm just getting to the law library is difficult. And then now they've only have, there's probably at any given time about 100 people in the law library. Now, out of those 100 people, there's only 5 computers, and these computers are strictly for legal research. And the reason why they have these is because back in like 2008, 2009, they started getting rid of all the books because it was taking up space, because it cost more money, whatever the reasons they gave. However, they started getting rid of all these books. So our number one, so they got rid of, we no longer have any digest of all the Southern Seconds and Southern Thirds. All we have up to like the book 900 from Southern Second is through like advanced sheets, right, that are always getting ripped apart and just not really not sturdy at all. And then we have no more the West Digest, which enabled us to look up these key terms, nor do we have any type of floggers that helps us understand legal theory and helps us navigate key terms as well. And they also got rid of all the shepherdizing systems, right? So everything to do any type of adequate legal research has been focused on using these computers. You only get 30 minutes you only get 30 minutes a session, right? So you try to do everything you can, get all the information you can to use and grab some of these books and grab some of these criminal law books that they have left over, or just the advanced sheets, so we can finish working on cases, finish working on our cases, finish helping people with their cases, whatever. So as of lately, at Martin CI, one of the comrades got in contact with me because they know I've been trying to organize Florida and try to push all this stuff that's going on. And they told me that now they are banning a certain class of prisoners to use the legal research computers. And these certain classes, anyone that either has ever had a computer-related infraction or DR, which is the disciplinary report, or even people that have any type of computer-related criminal charges, right? So these people that come in, let me just paint the picture a little bit. These people that come in with these computer-related criminal charges are no longer allowed to access the material to help fight their case, right? So, and then anyone that's in here, they're no longer getting the ability to fight their case because they call a cell phone DR, or because they are a registered security threat group member, right? It's been very arbitrary on how they've been deciding who they're letting on these computers and who they're not letting on these computers. And this is not thing that's going on in the whole state of Florida. This is something that's going on, like a pilot program they're trying at Martin CI, supposedly. So, I mean, that's the point I know it's happening, but I just know it's only supposedly happening at Martin CI right now. So, yeah, so it's becoming very, and a lot of things they're blaming it on is the security. Security. However, if they're trying to say that these computers were accessed to get these type of chips out that exposed a lot of the stuff that they were doing, man, it's a fucked lie, man. And they're just trying to use this to become thought police. They're trying to use this to become to just prod and aggravate people. They're trying to do this, and they're just, and there's so many different violations, constitutional violations that they're committing right now. You know, you would say they're committing they're denying us access to courts. They're denying us due process because they never warned anyone that they were going to start doing this for these type of DRs. You would say that, you know, there's there's cruel and unusual punishment there because we're getting punished again for something that we supposedly already did our time for. And they're you know, with these, it's just, there's so many different constitutional violations as well as their own library operations that they're violating here, man.
So I want to get into the changes in a minute, but just for the record, I want to just get a sense of what kind of access you actually have, because this strikes me as kind of outrageous, right? You're saying there's 100 people coming into the library and only 5 computers available, and people are getting 30 minutes of access. How are people supposed to do legal research in 30 minutes?
Yeah, and that's a big problem, you know. And I'm gonna say 100 is on a full day, it's on a busy day, but it's no less than 50 ever, right? So 50 people in this library, even on a very low capacity day, yeah, you're telling these people that they have to have only 30 minutes to research whatever they need to research, and it's just absurd, man. It's always been crazy. Now, what the argument is that with the computers, it will cut down time that it takes to search for these material, search for these case law, and then we can go grab the advanced sheets or go grab these old books and use it to help ourselves, right? But everything we have to do, so basically all that we do in these 30 minutes is try to figure out what key terms to use, which is already a problem for most inmates that don't have any type of, most prisoners that do not have any type of legal, like any that know anything about using these LexisNexis systems. They're already going to have trouble searching for key terms. So then when they figure that out, all they can really do is just write down a bunch of case laws and jump on, and then maybe hopefully that the books are there, or they're not ripped up, or they're not missing books, or because they don't ever replace books either, you know?
I mean, this is just outrageous
So
to me, right? I mean, like,
it's
how,
crazy,
how,
man. It's
how are you
crazy.
supposed to do legal research in those circumstances, right? I mean, and why only 5 computers? You know, if there's that kind of demand, why can't they add more? Computers are incredibly inexpensive, and all of that material is in the public domain and available for free. There's no reason people shouldn't have all the access to it that they need.
Yeah, I know they say that the reason why we're not allowed to have more than these 5 computers is because of some contract they have, right? And everyone that we always try to ask for these contracts, or we try to look in the rules where these contracts are supposed to be, and they've redacted them from us, right? So these rules that they have, these Chapter 33 they call it, or the Florida Administrative Code, there's so many parts of it now that are redacted for prisoners that we have to pay for this. So we have to actually do like Public Information Acts to you know, to try to see this stuff.
I mean, this is amazing to me. Like, what justification is offered for this kind of limitation? And if they're not providing proper access, why are they getting rid of books? And are there ways to get law books to prisoners who might be able to use them?
Well, okay. Well, that's kind of like a multifaceted question, right? So first, I'm going to say that no, you cannot donate books to the law library. All right, you cannot donate books to the law library because they said that they get the books that they need, and to donate any book from outside material might not be, you know, they had the reason why they said they got rid of all the Flodgers, all the Florida jurisprudence, and all the West Digest were because they were secondary sources and not actual case law. However, these secondary sources is what we needed to find the case law. You know, everyone knows you can't just open up a freaking a Southern Second or Florida Southern Third and just look for constitutional violations. The way that these books are formatted. You know, we can't do this stuff. So all these different case laws, we have to find out how to use them. And they hold up for a second. I'm kind of busy right now, bro. I'm busy right now, bro. All right. I'm gonna get back at you. All right, so my bad, man. I got this dude that I paid for some chocolate cakes, and he's trying to bring them to me, man. So, yeah, I know it's so totally ruined us because I really want those chocolate cakes. But okay, let me stop. Right. All right. So now, is there ways to donate books to prisoners? Yes, there's ways that books can be donated to prisoners. However, every prisoner is only allowed to have what can fit in a 2 by 3.5 foot box, right? So we have this small foot locker that we are only everything of our lives have to fit into it. So to say that we're going to have these humongous digests and these humongous law books and not have anything else, no canteen, no food, no anything like that, it would be difficult, right? However, there is an organization I've been working with in Florida called LEAH, right? And it's LEAH, and they work with trying to find these jailhouse lawyers and try to be able to set up maybe certain law students or certain lawyers as well that will plug in with these certain people and help them get material that they need. However, a lot of it's like case by case, just print this out for me, just print that out for me type stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it sounds incredibly difficult already for you to get access to the materials that you need. You don't have enough time. You don't have the access to the resources, and more than anything else, I mean, I'm sure there's not a whole lot of people who went to law school who are in prison with you to help you understand.
Yeah, for sure, man. This is our law school. This right here is our law school, you know?
Yeah. But it's getting worse from what I'm hearing, right? At least for some people, they're getting no access. So talk to me a little bit more about what the change is like. What are they doing? Why are they doing it? And how are they justifying it?
Well, the why are they doing it? There's no one knows. They're just saying that out of nowhere they just brought this. Okay, what they did, they used this form. There's a form that they're using. It's called it's like a user agreement, a computer agreement form. However, this form was not created for computers. These forms were created for clerical people, prisoners that do actually work for the prisons to help the prisons keep running. Their computers are kind of have word processors and these other ways to create documents. So they have to sign a user agreement that that they won't use none of this stuff illegally, right? So these computers, though, these ones we're talking about, the computers in question, the legal research computers, are so locked down. There's nothing on there that you can use except for the LexisNexis system. So their idea is that these computers can be used for doing other stuff is absurd, because they set up the system to lock these computers down from the beginning. That's why no one from the beginning has ever had to sign this stuff. So it's just some genius that works here at DOC in Florida started pushing these different agendas, and I guess it caught fire. I guess one of the different things that they're trying at Martin CI is let's see if we can stop them from using the computers. Let's see if we can hinder them from trying to and of course they're going to start small. They're going to start with a certain class of inmates. They're going to start with the people that have cell phone DRs or any type of computer related DRs or charges. Okay, because that's a small class, right? But so many people have been hurt because there's phones everywhere in the state of Florida. So anyone that's ever caught a cell phone DR, not using it nefariously, you know what I'm saying? Well, let's just say these people were talking to their family. Let's just say that they were just using it to get on social media or even to do podcasts with Ipsy Dixis, right? Now you're telling me that I can no longer ever use a computer to fight any of my cases. You're telling me that I can no longer have access to this legal material that you no longer provide. It's just crazy.
Well, I mean, it sounds to me like what your friend is describing is a situation where the prison is using certain infractions as an excuse for denying access to the legal computers and to legal materials in general, because they're only providing access to legal materials to computers as a way of punishing people. I mean, is that the right way of
And
sort of thinking about
exactly
it?
that's exactly where I was going to connect it at. This has created a punishment, a punishment that no one was ever forewarned about, that is being used whimsically how they want to use it, right? So yeah, it's creating a punishment, and there's so many case law, there's so many just administrative codes that it's going against, saying that they have to abide by their rules. They cannot go above the Florida Administrative Code and just start creating stuff compound by compound, and that's exactly what they're doing at Martin CI.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I was under the impression that prisoners had a right to access to legal materials.
And that's the big thing, that they are infringing on this right? So there's some states that don't even have law libraries. However, in these certain states, the reason why they get away with it is because they're supposedly supposed to have, like, I guess these are the states that where through every part of your post-conviction relief, you are assigned a lawyer. When you're doing motions, or when you're doing petitions, or whenever you're doing, you should supposedly get assigned a lawyer. Florida doesn't have that. Florida makes you do everything pro se. After your direct appeal, you have no more rights to an attorney. So that's why Florida has made it a right, prisoner's right, to be able to access this legal material, which is basically our access to the legal system and to the courts.
And that's it, right? I mean, you've got no other
That's
access, do you? Right.
That's
So, I mean, like,
there's nothing else.
So how about that, right? I mean, like, what kind of access do you feel like you really have? I mean, under the circumstances,
Well,
it
and
just
even
it
right
just
now,
seems like such a lie.
For sure. And right now, if any inmates that are in violation, or quote unquote, not allowed to use, or banned from these legal computers, if they get on the computer, they're going to go to the hole. They're going to go to confinement for 30 to 60 days for trying to access the courts.
Well, so King, I do want to take just a second to reflect on this, though. So, like, you say that in some other states, prisoners have access to post-conviction legal representation. In Florida, you, at least in theory, have access to legal materials to represent yourself. Like, from your perspective and from what you know, talking to other people, what's better for prisoners, right? I mean, would you rather have kind of nominal access to post-conviction representation, or would you rather have access to legal materials yourself?
Okay, so I don't know how true and how much access to legal representation these other states are getting. This is just stuff that I heard about, or maybe stuff that I've read in how they're dealing with not having law libraries in certain state prisons, like in Mississippi, right? So I don't exactly know how much legal help they're getting from lawyers, if it's just letters, or if these lawyers are just sending them case law, or if they're actually doing the motions for them, right? So I don't know exactly. So, but I would say that, of course, it would be great to have a lawyer. Of course, it would be amazing to have a lawyer every step of the way, because there's so many case laws there's so much case law that states how difficult post-conviction is, how complex it is. So that's why when you go back for evidentiary hearings, they appoint you attorneys. So if you're appointing these attorneys for evidentiary hearings, why not appoint them for just certain spots in these post-conviction areas, right? If I know I have a 3800 and I can show that I have a legal sentence, which is a 3800 motion in the state of Florida, why can't I show the courts this and they appoint me a lawyer to actually do this for me, right? And there's just a lot of different ideas or different ways that I thought were can actually help us in the future. But I'm so stuck on having to do it myself right now, or having to help these other prisoners in here, that I don't really have time to think about what would be better. You understand what I mean? Because it's so limited the access we get. It's so difficult. The only thing I know is to get down here and help people I can. And if this happens at my prison, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to be allowed to jump on these computers. If this happens at where I'm at now, I'm not going to no longer be allowed to jump on any of the computers because I've been caught with a couple cell phones. So that's what has me so worried that, okay, they're already not letting me work in the law library because of certain STG files or arbitrary security threat group because of tattoos or whatever, right? But also now they're going to take it a step further and not allow me even to use the computer to help people because of cell phone infractions.
And how does that work? I mean, as I understand it, what you're saying is the idea is that a cell phone is a computer. Therefore, because you have a cell phone, you've committed a computer offense. Therefore, you're technically like they can exclude you on some administrative grounds from using a legal computer as well. How does that make sense?
It doesn't make sense. It's just what they're grasping for right now. It's what they're reaching for right now. Yeah, because they have unauthorized use of computer DRs that are separate from cell phone DRs. So it shows that the DOC clearly doesn't think that they're both the same thing, right? And so it's just crazy. It's just something that they're doing and they're trying it. And you see this happen a lot. You see that, and I've been, last time in the interview that I did last time with ECC 11, we hinted a little bit on these social experiments that they do upon us, right? These social experiments at different prisons, they try things, they try to prod, they try to use these different techniques to see if it works. And if it works on a small scale, then let's take it to the region, and then let's take it to the whole prison eventually, And this is how they have taken things from us, by doing these little experiments, by doing these little constitutional violations to see how far they can push us.
Well, so King, I was wondering, like, in your experience and in your expectation, do you think that prisoners having access and better access and broader access to more legal information would be helpful for prisoners in making out better cases for themselves? And do you think it would be helpful in ways that maybe even just having some additional legal representation might not be, right? In other words, is there independent value to prisoners having access to legal information, legal cases, legal research, and the ability to work for themselves?
Yeah, for sure. One thing that I've learned from just being in prison, that nobody is going to fight your case as hard as you're going to fight your case. Nobody is going to search through the nooks and crannies or fine-tooth comb this. And even if it takes months and months and months on a single claim, we're going to make sure these claims are perfect, because this has to do with our lives usually. It has to do with us being in here, the difference for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, or trying to find some reason why there was some type of constitutional violation. And then, I even take it a step further. What about those guys that are innocent in here? Right? What about every single person in prison that is innocent, that has been convicted wrongly in here? And you're telling me that they're not going to be able to have access to these legal computers, these legal research? It's like, it's so hard for me to believe that they're doing it. However, I know that they're doing it. I know that they're doing it. The comrade's not going to call me and tell me they're doing something. He even sent me a picture of these forms that they're making them every person sign, and it has to go through the ICP and get picked by the classification officers to say if you're allowed to do this or not. So, I mean, I'm sure that it's becoming a problem down there because there's so many people in prison that this is their life. Learning, trying, building to get out of prison is this is what their life revolves around. So yeah, man, I think there is a type of almost revolutionary, a revolution of the mind type independent aspect to learning law and fighting your case, man, literally fighting for your freedom.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I know the people at Martin CI are objecting to this, and that they have plans to, try to spread their objections. I wonder if there are things that people outside of prison can do to help to amplify their voices and to help people realize what's taking place. I mean, do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, actually, yeah, there is something going on, and that's why I really, really wanted to have this with you, because on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, there's going to be a phone zap. There's going to be a phone zap for Martin CI. It's going to be put out by the iWalk in Gainesville, and it's going to be pushed around the whole, all the iWalks, the IWOC, and the incarcerated. It's basically the Incarcerated Workers Union, and this is our union in here. And these people have helped us and band together, and I'm working with them to build and organize a phone zap for this that's going to be taking place Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And it's going to be posted on my Twitter. It's going to be posted on my Twitter handle, and I will make sure that you get a copy of it. And it's going to be posted on a lot of different blogs, WordPress, Facebook, Instagram. It's going to be everywhere, because this type of stuff needs to be heard. There needs to be people calling up here and wondering why that these certain class of prisoners are being denied legal access. Because nowhere in the Constitution does it say what kind of prisoners are supposed to get legal access and not. So that's what's going to happen. That's what needs to be happening, and that's why I need to push this out here for the comrades down there in Martin CI. Because right now, if they let this happen, if it just gets brushed under the rug, if it only has a voice within Martin CI, it's never going to amount to nothing. There's certain targets in Tallahassee. There's a dude named Dean Peterson. There's I was given the name Warden Holtz and Dr. Layton. And I'm sure all this information is going to be on the phone zap and these different posts. And it's going to have targets. It's going to have things that everyone needs to call and figure out why in the hell are these dudes not getting access. All
right. Well, you can bet that I'm going to be pushing this phones app as best I can and getting the word out. And I'll get this podcast posted as soon as I can. This has been, as always, a very eye-opening conversation, and I'm pretty appalled that the prisons are acting in this way. But I guess that's par for the course, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is what's been happening for years, and now through cell phones and through different organizations, man, we're finally getting a voice in here, So I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you taking your time to listen to this and help boost this type of stuff, because, I mean, how far are they going to take it? How far are they going to push us,
All right, man. Well, stay strong, King, and I'll talk to you soon.
For sure, man. Hey, man, this has been great, man. Behind the trenches, man.
Fat, so a trophy is atop the